Good morning, Dave Savage.
Good morning, Steve Rainey. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for making time today. For all those people out there, you probably know Dave Savage, CEO of Mortgage Coach, out in front of a lot of people with championing the cause of leveraging technology and presentation tools and just helping people be more efficient with their business.
Well, thank you, Steve. I like to think my job is not just to help people leverage technology, but to help people be better leaders. Because at the end of the day, the loan officers and the companies that leverage technology, it's not because of technology, it's because of leadership. And so I try to really play both of those things equally in our Mortgage Coach channel.
Yeah, you definitely do. And I know Loan Depot you have a lot of users at Loan Depot, right?
We do. We have hundreds.
That's pretty awesome. Hey, speaking of that, like obviously, and I agree with you, I think leadership definitely impacts adoption and whether or not long-term things are used successfully. So what do you, like when you think about Loan Depot as a client of yours and Mortgage Coach, what are some of the more successful loan officers doing differently that have adopted Mortgage Coach and are actually benefiting from it versus maybe people that are having a hard time figuring out how to integrate it into their business plan?
Well, I think it applies to your top producers that have adopted Mortgage Coach, but I think it's a same thing in a lot of companies that we help, and that the leaders that have adopted, and it's not just Mortgage Coach, it's CRM, it's how they use their point of sale link, it's how they use video or don't use video. It comes down to their why, and they have this narrative, and so part of it is just they've really worked on that why, and they have a very personal reason to do it. Also, it has to do with competitive spirit. I mean, there are people that want to be the best, and they're going to do anything and everything to be the best. And there are people that, they don't need to be the best, but I want to be really good. I don't want to be at the bottom. And so I also think it has to do with just competitive spirit. Like if you want to be the best or you want to be great, you want to deliver a great consumer experience at the highest level that your company provides, well, then you learn to use Mortgage Coach. So I find people that even if they don't have good keyboard skills, but if they have that why and they have that competitive, I want to be the best, they figure it out, whether it's Mortgage Coach, whether it's their CRM.
That makes sense. Thank you. Hey, do you feel like, whether it's Mortgage Coach or other technologies, what are some of the things that you think get in people's way of really being open to trying new things that could help them be more successful?
Well, in this market, it's definitely the busyness and the overwhelm, although that is not uncommon. Even in a normal market, you'll talk to people that, really aren't doing that many loans. And they're like, I'm too busy. And so busyness gets in the way of business. And in today's market, when I say business, I'm just meaning improving yourself, making sure you have a perfect loan experience that you want to deliver to a client, and you're delivering that as consistently as you can. I had a conversation with one of your top producers. I don't know, Chairman's Club. He's in one of your top clubs. And he was saying that, we're so busy, but we've got in the way of not delivering our best experience every time. And it's actually costing us time. Like it's not only not the best consumer experience, but it's also not the fastest and most efficient. So I just think busyness gets in the way of doing things right so often, but that is the difference. The loan officers that learn new things, adopt new strategies, they put that business as a priority, that change as a priority, and they just fight through it and they make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and I think practice makes perfect, right? And the feedback they're going to get from their consumers and just how they feel during that process is going to kind of keep them doing it and then scale it.
Yeah, no doubt. Repetitions, the repetitions of doing your perfect experience.
Hey, where do you see the market going over the next few years? Just out of curiosity. You get to see a pretty cool vantage point because you guys are doing total cost analysis, and there's got to be tens of thousands of them on the regular now. But do you have any projections or forecasts from Dave Savage about where this thing's going?
Yeah, well, it's gone digital. So COVID has accelerated what was already happening, which is the digital transition of the mortgage space, as well as just about every industry. What can be automated will be automated. And that could be a really great thing for an advisor. So where do I think it's going? I mean, I think that being a loan officer, that you keep your promises, you have great rates, those are table stakes, and that there will be a reckoning in, I don't know whether it's 2021 or 2022, but let's just say second half of 2021, sometime in 2022, where there will be price compression again. There will be massive competition because whenever it does turn, it's not a question of if, it's just a question of when and how radical the shift is. Compression will happen, and people that have efficient best practice processes will survive. Everybody's business will go down a little bit from the incredibly high historical highs that we're at right now, but it will just get sustainable. And I think that, the people that kill it in the future, they're good leaders. They know how to manage themselves. They know how to manage up and manage down, and they know how to manage their clients and their realtors. And they use tech, the links that drive today's consumer experience. They know when and how to deliver those to a client.
Yeah, those are words of wisdom right there. It is crazy. I mean, the whole online digital mortgage world that has kind of been created over the last decade and what it looks like today. All the money being spent online to drive consumers who are totally comfortable going online, clicking some buttons and ending up at a competitor to local originators in some cases. But I think we're calling it our company does a lot of lead generation. I mean, we spend about $1 million a day on leads. Refis go to the call center. We push purchase leads out to the local LOs who participate in the program. And it's been rad to just see people evolve a little bit into this kind of hybrid local digital lending and kind of making the best of both worlds for those people that would normally end up at, an online centralized lender that does just online stuff, but kind of pushing them to the street and having them get some local expertise and teaching them new skills too.
Absolutely. And we're doing this conference in a few days called the digital or the modern mortgage experience. And one of the things I've been breaking down are like, what are the skills and habits of modern originator? And there's basically 12 skills and habits of modern originators, but you called out one of them. They get to the consumer first. They're not just relying on their future to get business from realtors. They're making their personal customer database a priority, and they're scaling their database. That is a consumer first strategy. And they're doing other things, anything they can do to get to the consumer first so that they control the consumer, they're doing it. That's what a modern mortgage originator does. It's one of the strategies and tenets of a modern originator.
Ooh, that sounds pretty cool. What are some of the other big ones that kind of come to mind?
Yeah, well, on the technology side, it's using their CRM hourly, not daily and weekly, but it's an hourly thing. The way they deliver a link to take an app is more strategic, and most of their consumers are getting that link. When I talk to loan officers that are closing over 100 million a year, they're leaders. They know how to set expectations with their clients, and most of their clients are clicking on their link, filling out their information. 34% of loan officers do over 100 loans a year use Mortgage Coach, so they're getting advice with a link. And then whether it's Zoom, video, a link is creating a better connection. And whether that's the live Zoom experience or one of Zoom's competitors, or whether that's BombBomb Video, there's a link for video. I am seeing a trend of the number of loan officers that are scheduling meetings with a link. So call it the link economy, column one. And then strategies, consumer first, which I called out, scaling your existing database, building a brand on social media. And so that's one category. And then, call it the back category is leadership skills. They're great leaders. They're working on their leadership skills. They're trained leaders. They have high emotional IQ. EQ is something that I think if you're a referral-based local professional, you need to know where you're at, and you can improve your EQ. You need to improve your EQ. And then finally, I find that a lot of the best have coaches, and they are coaches and mentors to people. And it doesn't mean they're necessarily paying, X per month, although I do find a lot of top producers that have a paid coach and are for-fee coaches, but they've got great coaching and great mentoring, and they're very active at it. They're good team players. So those are the kind of a summary of skills and habits of modern mortgage originators.
Wow, that's awesome. What percentage of the people in our trade right now do you think have that way of thinking and are actually, doing it?
Well, for sure, less than 50%, like no doubt.
Yeah.
Probably less than 25%. For sure, 5%. So I don't know, 15% of loan officers might be a B, like they're out of the 12 things I called out, they're doing 7 or 8 of them. So it's definitely not the majority, and it might be less than 10%.
But some of it too, I think, given the environment right now, there's people that are in over their skis with production and pipelines and just trying to hold on. So the thought of recording valuable videos, creating content calendars, having the hybrid retail and direct, build your database. It's like some of that stuff's taking a backseat to just getting loans done.
Well, everything I just called out not only improves efficiency and effectiveness, it saves time. So you're right. I mean, a lot of them aren't doing it, but I'm not doing it because I'm too busy. It's just a bad excuse, because at the end of the day, you'll be less busy if you adopt some of these habits. So I would just recommend people. I gave you some ideas on what a modern originator is. Come up with your scorecard for yourself. If you're a branch manager, come out your scorecard for your brand based off of the company you work for, and then be honest with yourself. Where are you at? And then plug the holes. And I'd get it fixed quick. Everybody could fix this and come out of 2020 as a modern originator. And I would advise that you do.
Yeah. I think that the neat thing about all what you said for me is that this describes really you and what you've done in your career, right? You've leveraged databases, you've created content, you've driven value, it's kind of sharing best practices for, Dave Savage and Mortgage Coach and how you've brought it to market. And
I've always tried to be that modern mortgage professional, whatever modern is. It has evolved. There was a time where using a fax machine was a modern concept. And there was a time where having a mobile phone, that was the size of a car battery was a modern strategy. So what's modern has evolved, but I've always tried to stay on that cutting edge.
Yeah, I do. It is kind of interesting too for me in this environment. If COVID didn't happen, it wouldn't have forced a lot of, required transition to get to where we are today with teams being remote, leveraging technology. It's like you haven't had a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's really kind of accelerated all the things that people wanted to do in a really good way.
I completely agree. There's been a lot of horrible things that have come upon our world through COVID. There's also been a lot of silver linings. And I do think the digital transition and the fact that grandma knows what Zoom is, and when I talk to top producers, they're like, I'm killing it. And I'm able to build trust and relationship faster with people. I don't think that's the case with all loan officers, but I think loan officers that are leveraging, digital tools effectively, they're building trust faster. They're doing transactions better. They're getting great reviews. Of course, we do have such a incredible volume of business right now that, there have been execution issues across the board with everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's just like changing the tire on a Indy car in the middle of a race while it's going, right? So
absolutely.
Which tires do I swap out? But all right, well, hey, Dave Savage, I know you're a busy guy. I appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your thoughts and all you do for the industry. And you've been helping me for the last 10 years. I know I've rung the bell a few times and just run strategy by you. And I've always appreciated just your way of thinking and out of the box, in the box, always, relevant, and just wanted to say thanks. I appreciate you, man. A friend, as a business partner.
Appreciate you.
Right back at you.
Right on.
Thanks, Dave.
All right. Have a good one, brother.